What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck did I just watch? You are listening to What the Fuck Did I Just Watch? You can find us on Facebook and YouTube at WTF Did I Just Watch? Thanks for joining us, and here's our latest episode. Well, welcome back. We took another month off, but here we are again, 2024, and we're going old school and bringing Randy back for this. And I decided on Club Paradise because it's a personal favorite of mine that was on TV a lot when I was like 10, 11 years old. And I adore Robin Williams. I'm sad every day that he's gone. And I also had a crush on Peter O'Toole, I think. So I don't know why, but
Because
there you have it.
you love all those old mystery movies, that's why.
Could be that. But yeah, so I was like, hey, can we do Club Paradise? And John Paul and Randy were like, sure. So here we are. For those of you that don't know, it's a very plot simple movie. It basically Robin Williams is a Chicago fireman who does not like the cold or his job. Has a accident while saving a dog from a burning building, and ends up buying a hut on an island called St. Nicholas, which doesn't actually exist. It was actually Jamaica, but and makes friends with the local, played by Jimmy Cliff, I believe, and whose club is going under due to taxes and government corruption. And so he decides to become co-owner of this club, Club Paradise. And then hilarity ensues with problems and issues and tourists and revolution and just good old time.
I mean, this movie's basically a hour and a half episode of SCTV. You know, it's directed by Hal Ramis.
So apparently originally it was supposed to be John Landis, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, again, it's basically SCTV. It has the SCTV cast, and it has two of my favorite actors of all time, which
Rick
are
Moranis and Eugene Levy.
That's right. I love me some Rick Moranis, and that's part of why I love this movie. And like Jenny said, yeah, I think HBO had this on a loop.
It did.
Nonstop. If you were an 80s kid,
it was like every third movie it played.
Yeah.
You know, we got this, the Beastmaster, and probably Short Circuit. I don't know. It just seemed like it was on all the time. And Soul Man, which we've talked about here. But yeah, it's just an hour and a half comedy sketch with random stuff happening, and I don't know. We'll
also shirtless Robin Williams, which was kind of hot. I'm not gonna lie. He's got a nice build, or he had a nice build.
Yeah.
The thing I liked about this version is this is subdued Robin Williams. Like, he's still got his quips, but he's not running around like on cocaine, like doing 1,000 things. He's actually playing a character here, which later becomes his thing, like he does his stand-up, and then he does like a grounded version of himself for like Good Morning Vietnam and like movies in the 90s,
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, yeah, he's still a little wacky in that, but it's more grounded performances. Yeah. This is a glimpse of that. Like, there's moments when he's being pretty serious in this movie, but the thing I agree with you guys. Like this, I had HBO when I was a kid. I guess we were lucky in that respect. But my dad was an electronics salesman, so he would always get it so he could talk about it. How it works and stuff. Back then, it was a big deal. But yeah, this movie was on. I probably watched this movie, I'm not kidding, like 5 times in a month once. So Every Man is an Island Jack, that song, I couldn't get it out of my head, for a long time. And when it played in this, I hadn't seen this in like 20 years. And when it started, I remembered all the words. I still sing Every Monday's an Island Jack. But yeah, it's just a fun movie. It's got all the 80s elements in it. Underdog, big bad corporations, haphazard sidekicks, and the beautiful woman the beautiful woman who somehow wants to be with the goofball who's about to destroy his credit and maybe go to jail. So and by the way, Twiggy, right?
Yeah, Twiggy.
freaking phenomenal in this. I forgot how good she was in this. She was really funny in a couple of parts. So, uh,
Yeah, her more straight role, but not like dumb straight man, played really well with Robin Williams. So it's just this nice kind of calm vibe. And then
yeah,
Robin Williams and Peter O'Toole, I thought were phenomenal off each other. They just like it didn't go nuts, but it was a nice little build of like it's all doom and gloom. It was like
yeah.
they just
And
played off each other well.
there's some great sight gags in this too. I love the shower scene. Still made me laugh really hard. The lady makes a huge deal about
Yeah.
the shower not working, and he says he's going to fix it, and then it like blasts her back like a fire hose. It's really
So
funny.
yeah, that character is Linda White, and she was played by Andrea Martin, who I adore. And actually, on rewatching this movie, I'm more and more impressed by what she brought to it.
Yeah,
Because she just her expressions, her timing, her just all in on the like bougie Cleveland, Ohio plastic surgeon's wife character, just in
yeah.
some classic lines like, you do not save a marriage without air conditioning, which in my opinion is completely true because you don't save anything without air conditioning.
Absolutely. Also, when she's singing the reggae black anthem, it made me laugh so hard because she commits. She commits to
She's
it.
all in. And yeah,
Yeah.
the gambling scene when they end up at the casino where she's just
She's losing like $10,000 in like 5 minutes. Yeah.
rubbing the dice on her ass and just she's a riot. She is just over the top. She's wonderful. And then like it's funny to me because like when you look at her here and then you look at her movies years later, she looks better. She like just she's fine. She's gorgeous here. It's just like, but most, she just aged really well and looks beautiful. It's really funny to me. I think the most
Isn't
recent
she?
thing she so go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, isn't she the doesn't she play the old woman in Something About Mary? Or is that a different actress
No,
I'm
I'm
that's
thinking
not
of?
Lynn
sure.
Shay. Lynn
Oh,
Shay
okay.
plays the old woman, and some about she is the most recent, I think. In
Only Murders in This Building. She
she
played
was
the
Yeah.
makeup artist that's Steve Martin's love interest.
yeah
And
she
still really, really funny. You're right. Like she
yeah
is
she's
hilarious. Yeah.
also in those oh, my Big Fat Greek Wedding movies, and she's a
Mhm.
Okay.
riot in those movies too.
Yeah,
So
I like her a lot. Also, there's another 80s actress and 90s actress that played the she made her hair into the dreadlocks, the white lady that
Mary Gross. Is that who we're talking about?
yes, yeah, I love her. She's in a lot of stuff in the 80s and she's always solid and she had some pretty funny laughs in this too. When she took her top off and she was like, saying so
It's
like she
Friday,
made it
Mary Lou, and nothing's happened yet. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, yeah,
well, as I say,
exactly, right.
Mary Gross is from SNL,
Yeah,
if I remember right. She was in SNL in
I
the
think in
80s.
the 80s, yep, with
Yeah, and then you also had Brian Murray, Bill Murray's brother, in
Brian
this at the
Doyle.
beginning. Doyle,
Yeah,
yeah, Doyle. So I mean,
Playing one of the evil.
yeah.
again, this is like, and I think that's why I think it was perfect the way Robin Williams, like you said, was kind of the straight man in this movie, from
Uh,
being like the wild, crazy Robin Williams, because the '80s he was more Mork and Mindy, and
yeah,
that, and then to doing this where he's kind of more like the straight guy bouncing off of all the other comedic actors in this, which again is SCTV. You had Joe Flaherty, I think his name is, who was also at SCTV. He played the
yeah. The
vampire.
the pilot was he the
Yeah, he was
pilot,
the
right?
pilot. He was the pilot.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, and it's just the way they all like just they're the bouncing crazy balls all over the place, and Robin Williams is just kind of like this just a straight man just trying to keep them all at bay while bouncing
yeah,
balls are just going all over the place. Like and I'm gonna say it the the uh the scene when they go to the nude beach is still one of my favorite parts in the
it's
movie
really funny. Yeah,
because they're like, "Oh, they stole all our stuff. They left our
yeah.
cameras and our wallets here."
I love when Eugene Levy is standing there talking to him about some mundane stuff, and
Yep.
he's like, "Sure, you don't want to get naked?"
As it would not work in a third world country.
Yeah,
But the weirdest thing I get Eugene Levy. The weirdest thing, he's the hairy man in this, right? It's all
yeah,
like his chest is all hairy and everything, and then these bright red udders which I was like,
Huge nipples. You just can't look at it. They're just
they're just right there. It was so distracting in certain scenes because I'm like, those are like goddamn cow hunters. Just like,
Yeah. His whole side mission where he's trying to get just a bag of weed. He just wants a bag of weed. And he ends up with a garbage bag of weed
yeah.
and thinks the government's coming after him is hilarious in its own right. And I love that they're playing uncle and nephew too, which is really funny. It's just amazing.
oh, well, it's like every time they come up with a different scenario. It's actually
Yeah,
I just Rick Moranis' character, like when they go hit on somebody, he'll like introduce him as his father or his uncle, or
yeah,
like it's
exactly.
always something different that like kind of is insulting actually to Eugene Levy's character. And it's funny because they're both the characters are both Barry, so it's Barry and Barry, and they're good
Right.
friends, and it's just hilariously stupid and lovely how they play off each other.
See, those two characters reminded me of kind of Dan Aykroyd and Steve Martin, the wild and crazy guys from
Yeah,
SNL,
exactly.
just constantly just hitting on random people.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
love that. I loved the club itself. Like I would stay there. You know what I mean? Like even with its flaws, I think it would be a fun place. But and then you're right, Peter O'Toole, he had some pretty funny stuff. Who Jenny, who was the actress that played the New York Times writer?
Joanna Cassidy, it was
Yes,
like
I
famous from like in the 70s, but was it Partridge Family?
I
I
think
don't remember.
so.
I didn't watch it.
I know I just know that she's in a lot of stuff too in the 80s as well, popping up as and she's always like that character. She's like a straight, stern woman that eventually gets shown to have a good time for some reason.
see, and I remember her in 80s wise. She was the boss in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Babysitter's Dead. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Another HBO overplayed movie.
Yeah. The dishes are done, man.
Man, yeah. So when like again when rewatching this now, not to mention, okay, we're watching this movie and we said we watched it a whole bunch of times as kids, and I know the movie's PG-13, but I'm watching this going, man, this is almost rated R in certain
Yeah.
things, like the
What
jokes. You're like,
wasn't it very much
wow.
that? Yeah, like for me too, I was as an adult watching it, it bordered on a couple of times. I'm like, did I just see side boob? Like no wonder I liked this movie when I
Yeah.
was a kid.
Or like I said, just some of the things they said that you're just like, oh wow, that I guess PG-13 was
Yeah,
unless you show full frontal, you're okay.
Is that what it was rated? I don't
yeah,
remember. Like, because I mean, that was the thing about cable in the 80s, but
Yeah, no, I just looked it up. It's
it
PG-13.
was PG-13
So yeah, it came out in
yeah.
'86. So
because there
but
was the
like I
only
said,
nipples you saw were Eugene Levy's.
was
That was
Eugene
Right.
utters. They were just
And
goddamn
there were a
utters.
couple of curse words in it here and
Yeah.
there. And Robin Williams did say some questionable stuff a couple of
Oh
times,
yeah, there was a lot of like,
Yeah.
what? Because
Yeah.
again, I'm sure over when we were kids, just over our
Yeah.
heads, whatever. But it's still really, really entertaining. I was just kind of surprised, like just rewatching it and laughing, like just it, like it almost felt over again. Like, I mean, again, I love Rick Moranis. I want him to come out of retirement and do something. I don't care what it is. He can read
Yeah.
me the phone book. I'll be happy. But just the scene with the parasail and
Oh,
him just
dude.
going everywhere. And then finally, like when he lands and he on the beach and he's just still holding on to it.
Yeah.
Not to mention you could tell like production they had to been there for I would say a couple of months because he was bright red as a
Oh, yeah.
lobster
well, I
and
wonder
like
if some of that
yeah.
wasn't also makeup though, because otherwise he would have been in such agony.
Oh yeah. But no,
Yeah.
it looked like he was a little burnt.
Yeah.
Because even
Eh,
in the picture of the poster that's in your background there, he's not as quite as tan, but he's like burnt in certain scenes.
you guys imagine this, right? So you go to this club, you pay all this money, you get lost in the woods or in the forest, and then you come out on the other side to the most amazing resort that you've ever seen in your life, right? And then the guy from the junkie resort you're at comes to get you. I would have been like, dude, you lost me. Like I will
Which
be
is fun
here.
because yeah, the Whites, the plastic surgeon and Linda White,
Yeah.
that yeah, he was like, no, we're staying here, and like Parmaline's like, are we paying for it the rest of your life? And picks up Andrea Martin's character and just walks out with them because she's. I mean, there's a whole bunch of funny stuff like that happens. Like even
Yeah.
the exodus into the forest after the clothes get stolen, also by Dr. White, who says, did it occur to you that, whoever took our stuff might be watching us and we don't know what they want? So let's get out of here. And I'm thinking, do you think you're better off on the beach where you can see them coming as opposed to being
Right.
in the jungle where they might come at you?
I love the creative way they came up to cover themselves too. It was pretty funny.
Do you ever think about that too? If you notice, Mary Gross and her other friend, they were fully clothed, and like at no point did they offer like shorts or anything or their top to one of the other naked people. They're like, no, fuck you. I'm just gonna
Yeah, they're like, you guys fashion those leaves into like, whatever.
you make that work. It's fine. The palm
Diapers.
leaf and yes.
Yeah.
Here's some bandanas, but we're not going to give you a shirt or a pair of shorts, even though we have our swimsuits on and everything.
I forgot too how hard I laughed when the pilot at the beginning is landing and when they go by Robin Williams and he's like, remind me to fire that pilot.
Because the pilot gets out of the plane, kisses the
Yeah.
ground. It's like, ah,
It's like, we
he's
made
like,
it. I lived. Yeah. And he has the classic Coke bottle glasses too, which is always funny when with your pilots.
that whole them coming into the island scene is hilarious. It's just one thing after the other. It's like a mini version of the movie Airplane
Yeah.
done in like 30 seconds. It's pretty
Yeah,
fun.
the up and down is hilarious. But also the let's talk about the revolution part real quick too, because what a like so take this lighthearted comedy and then put oppression and a revolution right in the middle of it and almost kill your main characters
Government
at the end.
corruption. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty ballsy, right?
Slide it in there. You know what's particularly fun about it? So the prime minister, who was the corrupt government official that basically is working in tandem with Brian Doyle Murray's character, whose name I forgot, that owns the ritzy resort on the island. The whole gist of it is they have two investors, a Swiss guy and an Arab guy, that are basically wanting to buy the whole island and resort it over and put nuclear power plants on it and just completely colonize and take it over. And one of the holdouts is Club Paradise, is Jimmy Cliff's character, and it's really funny. So the prime minister is played by Adolf Caesar, who was this phenomenal actor and voice actor and otherwise. And he's actually the thing that always got me is like, why do I know that man's voice? I don't know if you remember those commercials when you were a kid, because your mind is a terrible thing to waste. It was for
Oh,
the
he was that
United
guy?
Negro College Fund. That was Adolf Caesar's voice. And
Wow.
he died, I think, a couple of months of a heart attack before the movie got released.
Wow.
He was in the middle of filming something else and he just kicked over. I think he was only in his 50s. He was not that old.
Yeah, he doesn't
So,
look that old in the movie. I mean, you would think that 50s or 60s, but
but he was phenomenal. He was so intense and just, and the
yeah, he
guy's this
was.
short little guy and like he's making these threats. And I'm like, but you gotta take him seriously.
Yeah, he's almost playing in like a different movie. It's like he's playing in a revolution film. So he's taking it pretty seriously. And yeah, Peter O'Toole. What was the deal with him at this point? Do you know? Like, was this like his kind of farewell tour in movies or what?
No, I think High Spirits came after that too. I think Peter O'Toole just acted whenever he could act. And I think mostly he just picked whatever he can not have to do much in. Like I don't not just I'm pretty sure Peter O'Toole was a hardcore alcoholic for the entirety of his life. Like there's stories
Uh,
of him, filming Lawrence of Arabia where he's like drunk, falling off his camel kind of thing. So that was who he was. And if you notice, like if High Spirits, this movie, he's pretty much with the drink and just laid back and so yeah, I don't know that he did much after these movies. I think there was other stuff he was in, and he lived into his 70s, I
I would
think.
say I think he like early '90s is the last kind of movies I remember him in. But
Have
I
to
was
look
gonna
it up.
say the craziness of this movie, aside from how it was, was, I don't know if you guys realize who wrote this movie.
Harold Ramis.
No,
Oh,
one one Harry Shearer,
okay.
Ned
Yeah,
Flanders.
Ned
Ned
Flanders.
Flanders. Again, he was also a part of SCTV.
Yeah, yeah. That's you're right. You're very much right that this was a definitely a one of those. It's like Adam Sandler today. Like it was like, hey, let's get all of our buddies together and make this island movie. You know, and
Yeah,
we'll go on
yeah.
vacation again. So
Like I said, this movie, the only person that I feel that was missing was John Candy.
yeah,
I mean, honestly,
honestly, he could have showed up and it would have made perfect sense too. Like, you know, I wish
exactly,
he would have.
exactly.
So he died in 2013, and he's got credits in movies through 2018,
Holy
which is
crap.
probably just posthumous stuff, but like 2012, 2014. So he did show up on some TV shows and stuff. So
Gosh.
he was in Stardust, played the king.
He was 100 years old, huh?
No, 1930 to 2013. So he was, 70s. But yeah. I always thought Peter O'Toole was just a lot of fun. He just
Oh
everything he
yeah.
plays, he's pretty much chill and like in recent years, he was much more into, intense characters in his
Yeah, I
youth.
was gonna
But
say I
like
don't think somebody would describe Lawrence of Arabia as pretty chill, but but you're right. Like in like all the movies I saw him in the '80s, he was just that guy. Like he'd show up, he was drunk, making jokes, and I always thought he was a comedian until I was like in my teens, and I saw him in I saw Lawrence of Arabia when I was like 15 or 16. So yeah, and I was like, oh, this guy's actually amazing. So
yeah, excellent actor. But yeah,
yeah,
but like most of the stuff we see, I wouldn't say there's probably a lot of acting going on.
right.
It's certainly not in Club Paradise. Or I mean,
He
he got
acted
a
his
Razzie. He was
heart out in this
nominated.
movie.
I think they nominated. I don't know if he won it, but I think he was nominated for a Razzie for like worst actor because of this movie. But again, like I don't think he did a bad job. It's kind of what the character should be, right? He was just
Yeah,
governor general who was just in the tropics to be in the tropics without a lot of money and just,
the way I felt about it was like he was exiled there and he didn't really care anymore for some reason. Didn't really go into it, but yeah, I always felt like he was sent there and as like punishment, and he just kind of made it his thing. So
How about all the Cleveland, Ohio references in this movie? I counted them
right?
once.
What
I
the
didn't pay
heck?
a check. I think there's at least six, but I could be over guessing, but it's just so funny. Just they just randomly throw Cleveland in
I think it's a funny town. It's got a terrible football team. I think it's hilarious all around. Honestly, Cleveland, Ohio sucks.
there.
So, uh, except for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they've got one thing I like there.
And there's Lakeview Cemetery, which is really cool too.
Nice.
I mean, I think it goes to the fact that it's a good Midwestern town. I think even in the '80s, a lot of anytime movies would reference Ohio, it would be Cleveland,
Well,
and there are a lot of famous people from Cleveland. Rod Serling is from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm trying to think
yeah,
of other people, but
Tracy Chapman.
yeah, there you go.
Here's a modern
So
one.
yeah, I think it's just why not? It's a any
I
town
love Ohio
USA.
references. I'm not mad
Yeah.
about it. I just thought it was funny that the sheer
Oh
amount
yeah.
of Cleveland, Ohio being referenced in this movie
yeah,
was just, there's usually just like one throw out here every and there in a movie. You'll hear something about Ohio or this, or mafia movies. You'll hear Youngstown mentioned every now and then. But like it was just like I feel like every other scene they were dropping Cleveland.
it was like somebody on the production had been there and was really mad about it. So,
They're like,
Why
he
not?
sucks.
yeah, I'm gonna make jokes the whole time about it. Yeah, there were several. I noticed that too. I didn't notice it when I was a kid because I didn't pay attention. But yeah, this viewing, a couple of times I'm like, wow, that's funny. So, but
Yeah.
what a beautiful location too. That they're on. That island is amazing. So
Jamaica.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna lie. Yeah, rewatching it, right now in winter.
That was also one
yeah,
of the lures. I'm like, I want to see someplace warm and
yeah.
It's just kind of one of those. Don't get me wrong, because what is it? Last week we had the heat wave here in Ohio, and coming this week and next week we're gonna drop down again and get the ice storms and
Dude,
all
I
the
had shorts
BS.
and a t-shirt and flip-flops on the other day.
Yeah,
So when I was taking my trash out.
yeah. It's Ohio. Woohoo! Cleveland, Ohio.
full spring. Yeah.
Yeah.
But back to your point. Sorry, we sidetracked. You were talking about the revolution, but it was pretty intense. They have the prime minister is coming after them with guns and stuff. Saying either you let us buy your club, or we're basically going to kill you. And
Yeah.
jailed them. And yet there they were with like he activates the National Guard and they come
I
at him.
I don't know about you guys, but I've never been on vacation and thought if a revolution starts, I'm joining up. So
Yeah.
Which
all of
is funny
these,
because like so Jimmy Cliff is supposed to be one of the main characters in the movie, his character Ernest, and you don't get a lot of him.
yeah,
There's just him singing and then like a couple scenes, and he's kind of well, for lack of he's basically whitewashed almost out of the movie. But the scenes he has are so intense, like
yeah,
especially when when they're in the drying hut after they run from the initial invasion from the National Guard. Um, and he's like he's intense. Like I believed him. Like I'm pretty well, I mean, he is a reggae artist, so he probably does have very intense revolutionary ideas,
yeah. I bet he does.
but you can see it.
Yeah. Well, also too, another good sight gag. Speaking of his little group, was the cook with the giant dreadlocks.
The character's name was
Where
Tree.
yeah, they
Um,
made him stick the dreadlocks up in a giant chef's hat. It made me laugh so hard when we came into the kitchen, and the hat is like, I'm not exaggerating, like I don't know, 3, 4 feet tall.
it's
It's
probably as tall
hilarious.
as I am, like five
Yeah,
foot three.
it made me laugh so hard. But when Robin Williams is like, he's like, I love the dreadlocks, man. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying that I can't have a 5 foot hair in somebody's soup. He's like, I ain't shaving my head, man.
I can't cut my
uh,
hair, which
yeah, I
I
can't come
believe
in.
is actually part of the Rasta religion. They don't cut their hair.
Yeah, I
I could be
worked with
wrong
a
on that.
guy that was Rasta, and that was it's exactly right. That was part of their religion. So,
So.
uh,
But I love it. So the actor who played Tree, and I remember this for two reasons. One, because I love the whole motif, and the guy was just awesome. He was tall, the hair, and he seemed like the actor and the character was having fun with it.
yeah,
But the actual actor's name is Bunny Melville, and I think that's why I remember him more because this huge man's named Bunny, and I'm like
yeah,
I don't even know how to process that, but it's wonderful.
he's 7 feet tall or whatever. He's huge. Yeah, his name's Bunny. But yeah, it looked like he was having a good time. He made me laugh just the way he was smiling when he was in the kitchen, and he comes out after the fight, and he's like standing there next to the rich lady, and she like looks over and is like, "Oh my god,
Can
crazy hat."
you believe this? What?
Yeah,
It's
it's
fun.
good stuff.
Um, Well, that and the whole limbo time, how low can you go? See,
Yeah,
it
always
plays
got to
back
have
in
that
there.
in a beach movie, don't you? Always got to have
You
that.
do, you do. So another funny thing, originally it was instead of Peter O'Toole, it was supposed to be John Cleese. And instead of Robin Williams, I believe it was supposed to be Bill Murray. So I mean, I think they would have done well, but I feel like it would have been a whole different vibe to the movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it probably would have felt more serious. It would have been more like rigid British comedy, probably. For the police part, but I don't know. Bill Murray's funny. I was a while back. We watched The Razor's Edge. We were doing a Bill Murray retrospective for a while with another podcast, and he's good. He's good at turning that switch, man, being serious and then flipping it into funny. So, but Robin Williams is great. Like you look back on these movies with him in it, and you realize you took him for granted because he just brings this like energy and fun to like a
Brilliance,
movie like
even.
this. Yeah, brilliant. It's like little nuances. Like the opening of this movie is so good, it could be its own movie. You know what I mean? Like it could be its own thing, and that's a testament to him. It's like a one scene to explain why he's going to an island, and he's great in it. So I miss the guy. I really do. He was awesome.
I agreed. John Paul, you're finally coming off mute. What's going on there?
There we go.
Yeah,
No,
you
I
wake
was
you falling asleep over there.
no, sorry. I'm trying not to cough. No,
Oh
I was gonna
gosh.
say, so I totally agree with you, Randy. That beginning, I felt like, wow, you could just make a movie telling the story of him being a fireman and all of
Yeah,
that, and then make this crazy zany movie, and it would still play really well. And I think honestly, he's perfect for this role because, like I said, he let himself kind of not be the crazy Robin Williams that people know, and be the more kind of like, I'm gonna let everybody just bounce off me, and he still has the energy. Don't get me
yeah.
wrong. And he's got the quips. I thought that's actually what I really loved about his character in this was his quips more than anything else.
Oh yeah,
And even his side talking down the side of his mouth a couple times, some of the stuff that he says, because that's a lot all that stuff that I'm like, how is this movie PG-13?
when he tells the two the uncle and Rick Moranis and whatever and
Yeah, and
Eugene Levy,
Eugene Levy, yeah,
he's like they're
The
asking him
berries.
about weed,
yeah,
and he's like, well, I'm a DE agent, and he's like, what? And he's like, no,
yeah.
not really, but I could be. So
But I
stop
could
saying things like that.
something
Like the way,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. He was bouncing their jokes into something funny, which was pretty good.
Yeah,
So,
he's the perfect street man in this movie. So I thought that's
yeah,
just like, I don't know. I couldn't see Bill Murray in this role. I can't. I don't know why. I just because Bill Murray would give you a different kind of energy to
yeah,
this movie that like I don't know. I don't know if he would fall into the trap of trying to outstage everybody else because he does tend to do that. A great example is Ghostbusters. You know, you have all these like crazy comedic actors in Ghostbusters, and then you have Bill Murray, who's trying to be a little serious, but also does his like sarcasm. But
yeah,
somehow he also tries to kind of steal their thunder. The thing about Robin Williams in this movie, he let everybody shine. Like
yeah,
any interaction with anybody he has in this movie, he lets them be the forefront. And then he just kind of pulls back as well. But then he throws his little things. And that's why I thought, wow, this is a movie that if you haven't seen it, it's so worth seeing because like you said earlier, it's the start of that side that most people don't see of Robin Williams. That later on in his career, he became a more serious actor
right.
than being Mork and Mindy, the zany guy that he was.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like I can see why this probably didn't do well when it came out because at this time he was Robin Williams, the stand-up comedian, and if you're going into this movie thinking you're getting that level of comedic, prose back and forth, that's not what this is. This is more of him trying out his acting chops.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
yeah,
and like I said, and also to me, it felt like an extended SCTV sketch just because of all the SCTV characters in it.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know if any one of you guys have seen the marathon episode where they're having like a telethon, and every sketch is incorporated a part of that telethon of
this could
SCTV.
have easily fit into that, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
it would have fit into that kind of motif of an episode. So this
But
is like, SCTV goes to Club Paradise.
yeah,
Well, also, it's worth noting that at the time, three other comedies came out that were island resorts during the same time period. So they were fighting against like three other movies, and they all got, I believe, released a little bit before Club Paradise did because it got delayed.
Oh,
which
so
ones?
So,
probably people
Do you
got
know which
tired. Yeah.
ones?
resort, water, and hot resort. Sorry, the last resort, water and hot resort. Sorry, I forgot there's a word
Okay.
for that.
I might have seen the last resort. I can't really remember off the top of my
Yeah, I
head.
don't remember any of those movies, so I'll have to check them
Yeah.
out, but I don't remember. And I think there was like a more serious TV movie called Club Med or something that was not not serious, but it was not as comedic as these movies are supposed to be. So, interestingly, I think worth noting, but you mean if you want to look for it, Harold Ramis's wife, Anne Ramis, is actually in this film very briefly. She plays a travel agent at the beginning, when they open up Club Paradise after Robin Williams takes over. And I think that's the only movie she's ever appeared in. So
Oh,
I might be
cool.
wrong on that, but and supposedly
Yeah,
somewhere one of the extras is wearing a Ghostbusters t-shirt in one of the scenes too. So that's towards the end of the movie. So
I believe it.
nice. They always had little Easter eggs. These guys were the Easter egg guys before Easter eggs were a thing, you know? So I always liked that, appreciated that in their movies. There's always little gems of their other stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, I love this. I love this movie. It's what's the one with John Candy that there's the Great Outdoors and then Summer Rental is the
Summer
other movie
Rental is
that
Yeah.
what you're probably
this
thinking.
this always
With the yacht
reminds me of
race.
some yeah, this always reminds me of Summer Rental because everybody talks about the Great Outdoors, but Summer Rental is equally as funny. And everybody talks about Robin Williams' later 80s movies, but this one's equally as funny and worth a watch. So I would say if you're a fan of his style in that time period, give this one a watch again because it is worth your time. So
Yeah. It's also the only collaboration of Harold Ramis and Robin Williams. So historically it's worth it just for that. You get that
yeah,
crossover. It doesn't exist anywhere else. So
which is crazy to think. Like those two guys are funny, equally funny. It's crazy they didn't cross over more. So
yeah. Well, it might be because Harold Ramis kept picking Bill Murray, but
Probably.
yeah,
His brother is in this movie.
yeah.
yeah,
So, and I believe, IMDb's got like screenplay credit, so I'm sure Harold Ramis touched up the script with Bill Murray's brother,
yeah.
Mhm.
and the thoughts that they probably tried to get his brother in this movie initially, like you said. So that kind of makes sense as well.
Because I think in the credits I saw it was produced by Brian Doyle Murray. So
Yeah,
too.
I
There,
think
So
so.
there,
Yeah.
so there
yeah,
you go. Yeah. So, but like I said, I don't know. I rewatching it now, it holds up. It's still really really
I
entertaining.
will say it holds up, but be aware, like if you are not a child of the 80s, there are very inappropriate jokes that are insensitive that might
and this is
impact
a
you.
safe space, and you
Yeah.
guys can come here and be safe.
Yeah. But so I mean, there's a lot of like would seem homophobic, but really at the time, it sounds like I'm justifying. I'm not meaning to, but most of the people that are telling these jokes and stuff that are in it, they were aligned and friends with people that are homosexual queens and stuff like that. So it's more meant in a the way you pick on your friends kind of way than it is to be homophobic, if that makes sense. But if you are out, it wouldn't come across that way today. So,
Like
I think there's
the two hot women, and then the two guys that show up. That's what you're talking about. And then they kind of
that's
were
one of
like,
them.
"Oh,
Yeah.
those guys are together clearly." And then
Yeah.
they're,
Couple of mo's. Yeah. Is what
yeah,
this. So,
yeah. And you're right. The language was different in the '80s. It was a different time, kids. We were different people. All right. We were trying, but we made mistakes. Okay.
yeah.
And sometimes we thought things were funny that weren't.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it was. So don't
Or
let that dissuade you.
Welcome to Gen X. Welcome to
Yeah.
Gen
like
X.
there's a line in it, and I don't know why it always strikes me as so funny, but it's like right after the lovely scene where Linda White, aka Andrea Martin, goes parasailing and her rope snaps and she ends up in the trees and everything, and she's instead of broken by it, she's like just brought to
Exhilarated.
life by it. She's
Yeah.
exhilarated, she loves it, and she's talking to her husband, and she's like, I think I forgot the characters' names that were going something in helmet to are going to take me cliff diving, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Why don't you won't you come with us? And her husband goes, sure, nothing can be more fun than jumping off a cliff with two German bisexuals. It's just
Yeah.
it's his tone. It comes off super funny. But it's like also why would you have to add that in there that they're bisexuals? But like,
Right.
it's just but it's still like I don't know. Like it
And
makes me
that was the
chuckle every
thing that
time.
in the '80s, those guys were questioning other guys' sexualities because they were intimidated by how much more manlier they were than them. So
How much
that
more
was their
attractive,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, it was their way of taking them down a peg. And it was wrong, but it was funny
Mhm.
too. I mean, the way it was written, you're right. It made me laugh, and I am not, I was aware that it was probably a joke that was outdated, but it still was funny to me. So, no,
Yeah. I don't mean to harp on. I just,
no,
own it.
yeah,
Is all I'm saying. Is like, well, let's own it. We're
yeah.
just we're not known for our sensitivity. Our whole generations, we just bad
I mean,
senses of humor.
if you're in your early 20s and you're watching our podcast, thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know
please.
what would draw you to us, but hey, you're
We'll
already
tell you
cool.
of the old ways.
Yeah. Killer boots, man.
Yeah,
I
the
like all your
clothing is
gender fluid stuff you kids are doing. It's cool. I think it's neat. I always wanted to dress flamboyant, but I couldn't because I would get beat up. So
no. I'm a
John
fan of the
Paul
way
knows.
people are. Yeah,
John Paul
I'm
would have
really a
beaten you.
fan of the new way of just letting go, like because gender roles suck and just stereotypes and everything. Like I'm glad they're getting trashed. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm glad that that's a thing now.
I'm
Um,
I'm still trying to bring back the patriarchy, but what are you gonna do?
it
Thank you,
hasn't gone
Ken.
away, so in a way, you're successful.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Ken. Thank
we
you, Ken.
won. Did you hear that, fellas? Yeah, still on top. No, I'm just kidding. But we
I'll
are.
stick
Yeah.
Taylor Swift on you. No, I'm kidding.
There you
That's
go.
all right. Yeah.
Did she ruin the
Randy,
Super Bowl for
Randy,
you?
you have officially become the
No.
Ken doll from the
You,
Barbie movie.
you know what ruined the Super Bowl for me was the two teams that were playing it. I absolutely hated both of those teams. So I was glad that Taylor Swift won the Super Bowl. So
Awesome.
All
Um,
yeah.
right. On that note,
note.
Yeah.
I really don't have any much. I still enjoy it. I think it's a fun movie. Is it did it ever win any awards? Will it ever? No, but if
Yeah.
you want something lighthearted when it's the dead of winter in January and you're freezing and you're dreaming of a, tropical escape, it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it slips in. It's very subversive how it slips in, as you pointed out, the whole revolution issues going on and colonization and imperialism. It's in there, and you don't really
Yeah.
think about it, but it's there, and it's funny how they did that.
And I love it. Like Robin Williams has a great joke where the rich guy's talking to him about the old days, and his buddy walks over, the musician guy, and he's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, he's just explaining to me. Oh no, it was the Twiggy's husband or boyfriend or whatever, right?"
Yeah.
And he was just explaining to me about the old days, how great colonization was and stuff, So
An
that
honest day's work for an honest day's flogging. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah. So there's some great jokes in there that are really highbrow stuff too. So for every Mo joke, there's a really smart, well thought out joke about how oppressed, these people are, that we go there and vacation at their homes and we haven't given them
yeah,
any sort of reparations for all the crazy shit we did to them. So
exactly. Well, and there's a couple other scenes that, like, to your point, like um the first scene where you get introduced to Peter O'Toole when Robin Williams go in the bar. You actually the first scene where you get introduced to Twiggy's character and all that too.
yeah,
Um, they start talking about revolution, and like Peter O'Toole's character goes on this tangent about revolution in Kenya and what happened there, and you can see like some of the people shaking and the and stuff like that because I mean it was a real thing and it happened. Revolutions like that happen for a reason, and I just think it's
yeah,
funny because they insinuate it there and they make it funny, which is twisted as fuck, which is why I'm a fan of it, but it's serious. And then
yeah,
later on, when Adolf Caesar and Brian Doyle Murphy are on their yacht discussing, the fact that they right before the revolution starts, everybody the people went on strike. And Brian Doyle Murphy looks at Adolf Caesar's like, raise the minimum wage to $1 a day. She deserve that. Just and it sounds funny, but it probably these people were being paid. I mean, you think minimum wage is bad now?
oh
Imagine.
yeah.
So,
I
I
mean, when
mean,
I
again,
entered the work, when
sorry.
I entered, I'm sorry, when I entered the workforce, what minimum wage was like $4.20, and this is the '80s, so minimum wage was probably $1 and some change back then, So
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's just an interesting point you didn't think about. But yeah, I mean, that's why you hear things sometimes go on when you go to these tropical paradises and like bad shit happens. Well, if you walk away from some of those resorts and look around,
Yeah, most
there's a
of them
reason.
are. Yeah, it's like the thing in Hawaii where that it completely burned the one of the most popular places on Earth away, and then here we are 6 months later, and people are like going back there to still vacation. I'm like, hey, people live there, like why don't you give it a break for a while, and then come back? But it's crazy. If I could just add one thing too, real quick, on your point, Jenny. Um, you should also watch this because it's a time capsule. This is these actors, they're legends that are in this movie. This isn't like this cast is stacked. These people went on to create some of the best art that ever came out of Hollywood. So I would say just for that alone too, watch this and see these people right when they were starting to get their comeuppance. They were about to be. A lot of these people in these movies went on to win Academy Awards, went on to star in some of the biggest movies, blockbusters of all times. So I would say watch it just for that too, because you're going to see some, you know, first time, like this is a pretty big movie for some of these guys. So
Excellent point. John Paul?
I say
Okay.
just watch it for Rick Moranis and Eugene Levy. I
you were
mean,
muted that whole time for
for that, yeah.
that.
No, I mean, like I said, I'm still enamored with both of their comedic timing and those two characters. I mean, Eugene Levy in the '80s. I mean, everybody knows him now. He's Schitt's Creek. He's oh, I forget his son's name now.
American Pie.
American Pie,
Dan
exactly.
Levy's Dan Levy's dad. Yeah, we
Dan
all know.
Levy's dad,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
But as someone said to me uh just recently, Dan Levy is basically a clone of his father.
yeah.
I
Absolutely
mean,
right.
he looks, sounds like him. I mean, yes, that's his dad and everything, but you look at '80s movies with Eugene Levy, and you look at Dan Levy, I'm like, they're the same people. So he's probably hiding those big ginormous nipples as well.
Yeah. He's got to keep all his shirt on
Yeah,
in all of his
but I
future
mean,
movies.
because again, like I said, I grew up in the '80s, so you have this movie with Eugene Levy, which was great, and then you also have a movie like Armed and Dangerous with him
That's,
and John Candy,
Yep.
or I forget the actress's name that was also in this. She was in that movie Feds from the '80s.
Mary Gross again. And this was
Mary
actually
Gross.
her film
Yeah.
debut.
There you go. Yeah. So again, time capsule because they're great people, and you get to see Ron Williams again in good form, and the start,
Yeah.
like we've talked about, the start of
He's
kind of a serious acting that people don't remember him for, and I mean they do towards the end of his life, but not really.
he seemed really happy in this movie.
He
Like
did.
in his later movies, right before his career stopped because of his disease or whatever, and then we found out he died. But he in a lot of those later movies, he was playing very damaged, sad people. This is like the opposite of the spectrum. He is a you can tell he's having a great time in this movie. So yeah,
Yeah.
So
Actually, the whole cast looks like they're having a fun time. Like, I bet you that
yeah.
was a hell of a time to be. I mean, that would be a party I want to go to. I'm just gonna say
Oh yeah.
it.
I bet that movie set was weed and rum every night. I guarantee it. Just
yeah.
probably
No
coming up
doubt.
with the next morning's lines.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely worth the rental. I think every rental streaming has it for $4. It's worth the $4,
Just
It,
Yeah.
buy it. You'll want to
yeah,
keep
just buy it. Yeah, exactly. It's worth it. Um, I don't have a whole lot except like I said, I forgot how much I really, really enjoyed it just rewatching it now and how much it
Yes.
would just surprise me that it really has that kind of R-rated comedy almost that you're just kind of like, okay, well, PG-13 it
It's
is.
it's what we all agree. We were
Yeah,
walking that fine line into
yeah,
adulthood as we probably it was one of those movies that we probably shouldn't have watched, but we did.
that's
So
true.
And our parents back then, my mom went strictly by the rating system. She was like, "Oh, PG-13, you're fine. PG, you're fine." And
Latchkey
there's a
Kid,
lot of
Latchkey Kid. I came home,
yeah,
watched
a
it.
lot of movies in the 80s and 90s that
Yeah.
were PG-13 that probably should have been R. So, but
Thank you, HBO and Skinamax.
yes,
You're what's wrong with Gen X, just so you know. Like,
you're part
it
of the
was
problem,
cheating.
HBO.
Yeah, but yeah, so thanks. Just watch the movie. I think you guys will get a kick out of it. Keep the time period, in mind and know what's
Yeah,
appropriate and not. But it's just a good, fun romp to get you out of your winter blues for sure.
right.
I totally second that.
And remember, kids, every island or every
No
man is an
man is an
island.
island,
No
No
man is a
man is a
lion. You messed it up
damn it, I
and
already.
no
messed
man
up.
is a woman either. I think was the
No, yeah, that's what the joke was. But no man is an island, Jack. Remember that.
Well, thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed our latest episode of What the Fuck Did I Just Watch? And Randy, thanks for coming back and joining us again.
Thanks,
John
guys.
Paul,
It was a
Yep.
blast.
Thank you, Randy.
Yep. I love you guys.
love
Am
you,
I allowed
man.
to? Am I allowed to say that? I think
Yes.
I'm.
All right. We're gonna have it on a loop now. We got
That's
it.
fine.
We
I love you
got it.
guys. I'll say it in a creepy way too. I love you guys so much, so very much.
And on that note, this has been another episode of What the Fuck Did I Just Watch?
See you guys.
You have been listening to
What the Fuck Did I Just Watch? You can find us on Facebook and on YouTube at WTF Did I Just Watch? Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll join us again soon.